It's Friday, the 30th of April. Welcome to the Breakfast Show. I am your host, Mark Anthony, and my apologies that we didn't get our headline video this morning. System just wasn't having it. And you find me today a bare husk of a man. If you're watching last night, you'll know that our latest Construction Collective show was a veritable extravaganza of equipment, and it was exhausting. If you didn't see it, stick around and I'll tell you more. But first, let's take a look at those celebrity birthdays. And we have a double-double today. The actors that played Leonard Hofstadter and Raj Koothrappali in The Big Bang Theory TV show are both celebrating birthdays today. And two generations of superhero movie stars are also celebrating. Kirsten Dunst, the original Mary Jane Watson from the Spider-Man movies, and the current Wonder Woman, Gal Gadot, are both enjoying birthdays today as well. So happy birthday to each and every one of them. We'll be right back after this.
If you enjoyed this show, please consider supporting us. Go to buymeacoffee.com/demolition news.
Now, Neil Edwards, the CEO of market intelligence provider The Builders Conference, will be joining us a little bit later on to look over the construction contract awards for the month of April. But ahead of that, Neil's research team at the Builders Conference have uncovered this wee nugget of potential. Over in High Wycombe, plans are afoot for the construction of a block comprising 24 new flats to bring some much-needed social housing to the area. Both ARJ Construction and Life Build Solutions are vying for the construction portion of the works. But first, some existing buildings will require the attention of a competent demolition contractor. The client in this instance is Red Kite Community Housing, and you can find out more about this one and many more just like it over at thebuildersconference.co.uk. Now, as I mentioned earlier, just a few hours ago that the Construction Collective came together for the fifth time for a show that included new products from as far afield as China, Turkey and the Czech Republic. There were many highlights of the show, and you can catch it in the link in the show notes for today. More equipment. Those lucky enough to be attending the World of Concrete exhibition in Las Vegas in June are in for a Doosan-shaped treat. Let's throw that up on the screen. The company is planning to showcase its new DL7 Dash 7 range of wheel loaders for the first time, and a 20-ton class DL380-7 wheel loader will be exhibited on the Doosan stand in the West Hall at the Convention Centre, the Las Vegas Convention Centre. How much I miss you. A new look and redesigned cabs with enhanced comfort features, increased bucket capacities and new fuel-saving technologies are highlights of this next generation of Doosan wheel loaders. Every DL-5 series Doosan wheel loader will eventually be replaced by a -7 series machine, from the DL200-7 to the DL580-7. The new DL380-7, a replacement for the DL350-5, features an axle upgrade allowing customers to carry and lift larger load capacities. This increases customers' capabilities in a variety of traditional earth-moving applications. And this machine is offered with a 3.7 cubic meter capacity bucket as standard. I will add a link to that machine in today's show notes so you can find out more. Right, I've kept you waiting in the green room for long enough. Neil Edwards is the CEO of market intelligence provider The Builders Conference, and no one has a better handle on the current health of the UK construction and demolition industry than Neil. I'm delighted that he can join us to look over the facts and figures for the month of April. Good morning, Neil.
Good morning, Mark. How are you?
Yeah, I'm very well. But well, I say I'm very well. I'm half asleep, if I'm being completely honest. That was quite a show last night. But don't let that stand in our way.
I'm glad it went well.
Yeah, it went very, very popular. It's people love diggers, don't they? Absolutely. So it is our monthly get together, and my question, which is always the same: what are the scores on the doors?
Well, we've been kind of used to these absolutely huge figures of contract awards during the month. Some of them, obviously, last month was over 9 billion. But we always said that 4 billion was a pretty good benchmark. And this month, we've actually done 5.6 billion. So we're still above. But obviously, if you just take it on a percentage from last month, we are down from there. But yeah, 5.6 billion in a month, which also saw where we had Easter. So there was a couple of weeks there where there wasn't a lot of staff around and a lot of people around to get hold of and obviously sign contracts or whatever. So yeah, 5.6 billion in a month is very, very good.
But that's the first time we've dipped down to those sort of levels in what, 5, 6, possibly even 9 months now. Should I be sounding the alarm? Should I be throwing up the sandbags and building a barricade?
Definitely not. No, definitely not. Everything kind of looks forward as pretty good. The activity is definitely growing, and a lot of estimating departments who we speak to, our researchers back at Builders Conference HQ, they speak to those, and they are becoming busier and busier. And obviously, some of them, or some businesses, have furloughed staff, so they're now being brought back. So no, don't start put up in the barricades and things like that. Definitely not. We're definitely predicting that this year is going to be pretty good.
So, who were the big winners this month?
Well, the big winner this month, there is one signature project, if you want to call it like that, but there is no £1 billion project that we often talk about when we get this 7, 8, and 9 billions monthly totals. But this month was a joint venture. They're called Future Valleys Construction, and it's a joint venture between, and I'll get the people who are actually involved with it. It's FCC. Roadbridge, Meridian, Alan Griffiths and Atkins, and they secured a £590 million project in Wales for the A465. It's the Heads of the Valleys section 5 and 6 Orbit Business Centre, Merthyr Tydfil. It's been on the cards for a long time, but the actual deal has been signed now, and obviously infrastructure is what we've been talking about over these months. This is just another one of those projects that probably the government, whether it be the Welsh government or the UK government, have been talking about, and that's why we're starting to actually see this come to fruition.
We'll come to the regions in a second, but £500 million into Wales, that must make Wales look pretty damn good this month.
It does. As a region, they have definitely come forward. Yeah, this month, over 600 million is just in south of Mid Wales. So they've definitely moved up the pile there. In the other parts of Wales, if I'm looking there, which is North Wales, not so good. Just over 11 million pounds. So overall, Wales has got about 620 million, but 630 million. So pretty good for a month.
Absolutely. So you mentioned that there was just that one big landmark project. How many of the, before we get on to the individual names and numbers, how many topped the £100 million mark this past month?
So far, it's 17. 17,
which is a good number.
It is a good number, and they've all secured lots of projects. So when you're looking at leading the way this month is Kia Group with 20. But obviously we've still got a day left, and since I came online, I obviously started to do my reports early this morning. My figures were something like 5.5 billion, but as I look now at the live screen, it's 5.6 billion. So already we've added another £100 million in the day. So, but yeah, Kia's, I've got 20 projects. Morgan Sindall got 15 projects. The Vistry Group have got 13 projects. So yeah, lots of NG Group, 7 projects. BAM, 9 projects. So all good numbers this month.
I mean, that puts a nice balance on the fact that we've dipped below the 6 billion. The fact that there's a lot of work out there, and that really does balance things out, doesn't it?
It does. And when you're looking at those numbers, each project of those will have to have their own teams. So staff wise, it's going to be putting pressures back at headquarters and a lot of those companies.
We'll come on to those pressures and more like them in just a second, but take me down the top 5.
Okay, top 5 is, as I say, Future Valleys is the top one. Second on the list is BAM. They've just got over nearly £250 million worth of work. The largest of theirs is a £100 million office at King's Cross, and the client there is Argent, and it's an 11-storey building they're constructing there. Third on the group is housing. It's another housing contractor. It's Countryside Properties. Their largest one of their projects that they're starting is a £161 million project, and that's in Kilburn. Northwest 6. And it's a mixed-use development, and it's something like 308 new housing, with 41% will be affordable housing on that one. Fourth on the list is Engie, who I spoke about earlier on. The largest one of their projects, they've picked up 7 this month. The largest one of their projects is a £200 million project. It's a mixed-use development. It's on the former Rudgley Power Station site, and it's got many different elements to that one, whether it be offices, local community, as well as housing.
Yeah, it's interesting you mentioned that one, because we've been following the demolition at Rudgley Power Station over the past month or so. So, yeah, interesting to see how that one's all going to turn out.
Yeah, I think it's going to be divided into phases, and because obviously to do it all at once, it's a huge area and a huge site. But the first part of it looks like it's gone to Engie, or they've purchased some of the land as well for their own development. And finally, on next on the list looks like I'll go for 2 here. Actually, it's Tide Construction. They've picked up they're going to do their own development in Croydon. It's not far from where I started my career at Croydon College, and it says land adjacent to Croydon College. It's a £200 million project there. And the next one on the list is Morgan Sindall, who normally vie for obviously the most number of projects with Kiers, but this month they're slightly behind. They've got 15, but the largest one of theirs is a £50 million fit out works to our place, which is in the City of London, and it's via their Overbury branding.
So we've mentioned infrastructure, we've mentioned housing. Category wise, is housing still number 1?
Yes. Quick answer to all of that. Yeah, housing is still over 40% of the market this month. It's gone down from last month, but what we can see is that there is also quite a number of mixed use developments, which I always say the fact is because we don't know the contractual makeup of what's retail, what's entertainment, and what's housing. We put that in a miscellaneous category. And if you add that to the housing, it's £2.6 billion this month. If you say that's a total of 5.6, so you can see there it's still a significant sector that is quite buoyant.
And what about region? We've touched on the fact that Wales has had a very good month. London still numero uno?
Yes, numero uno with over 1.4 billion. Yeah, Wales is obviously very good this month, as I say, about 625 million pounds. But you've also got Scotland this month. That's got something like 360 million, which is above what they normally we see. But the second really is the Midlands, and I think this is going to be also. I think we spoke about this like 2 or 3 years ago, you and I, in regards to obviously you've got the Commonwealth Games up there, but obviously with HS2 delivering connectivity across the UK, the Midlands is going to become a growth area, and yeah, that's something like 700 million pounds this month, and that's going to be some mixed development, some housing, and some entertainment. So yeah, I think the Midlands, Manchester, and obviously London will be the big areas of growth in the next sort of like 12 months.
Now, earlier on, you alluded to the challenge of finding enough staff to do all of this work, you know, particularly when there's so many projects that will each require their own teams. That's something you've touched on before, and something that you and I have discussed in the past is availability of materials. And I know a few of the online portals like Construction Inquirer and the Construction Index have mentioned concerns over material supply, partly due to Brexit and importation, but also because HS2 is such a huge draw on some of those materials. I'm going to ask you your thoughts on that. But we saw this coming, didn't we?
Yeah, we did. I think we've got to take a long, hard look at ourselves as an industry, as a construction industry. I think HS2 has been significantly on the cards, and there has obviously been an element there where people have said, is it going to go ahead? Is it not going to go ahead? Well, when you see the money probably that was spent early on, many years ago, it was going to be a project that was always going to proceed. And we need to get more connectivity through the UK. And it wasn't a case of cost or anything like that. It was obviously initially HS2 was looked at to think about time for getting from the north to the south. It was nothing to do with that. It was all to do with capacity. And I know we've gone through exceptional times in the last 18 months or so. But you know, when the railways were working at something like 98% capacity, we needed to change, because the slightest problem meant a huge problem for getting from north to south or south to north. So yeah, we've known about it for a long time, and to be honest with you, Mark, I think it's with the government also pledging to do these hospitals, which still haven't come online, all of them, and other infrastructure projects like the Lower Thames Crossing, and you've also got the significant project under Stonehenge. We can only see if we need to start production of materials, and also it isn't just materials, it's labour. It's the whole sector will need to have a good look at itself and start gearing up to actually achieve what we need to achieve.
But this isn't just a matter of gearing up, isn't it? I know you and I spoke very briefly before we came online today. I was at a meeting, and I'm going to take a wild guess. It was probably 3, possibly 4 years ago, at which HS2 was being discussed, and they were talking down to the last one, how many dump trucks would be required by HS2. We have known that for years, you know, and I would like to think that the manufacturers of those dump trucks and those excavators have taken, you know, they've heeded that warning, they've gone away, they've done their homework, they've put in place production. How is it that we have a situation with materials where that hasn't happened? You can see there, our friend at Demolition Jobs there has posted a question. You know, closing our own steelworks probably hasn't helped, and I'm sure that is part of it. But again, you know, we have had, what is HS2? HS2, we've probably had 10 years warning that this thing was coming, and yet it seems to have taken material suppliers by surprise. How on earth is that the case?
Wow. Really, that's a huge question, really. But to break it down into some section, I think, to be honest with you, we've had a lack of inward investment over the last. We've relied very much on last minute, just in time deliveries, and we've become probably a little bit complacent because we've always been allowed to get a lot of our materials from Europe, because obviously the likes of Poland and Germany and places like that have always supplied us with a lot of goods, and also internationally from the likes of China and abroad. So it has never been interrupted. So we've never kind of thought to ourselves it would be interrupted. But obviously this pandemic has put something in place now. We've now got to relook at ourselves and say to ourselves, right, okay, do we need, or we need to look at a lot more manufacturing within the UK? And if you look at the number of factories and industrial units that are being tendered for at this present moment in time, I think we said it about 2 or 3 months ago, that's going to be a big sector, and is a big sector, because there is a lot of them. Whether they're going to be logistic centres for people to collect goods and then deliver them across the UK, or are they going to be actually manufacturing, that's still to be looked into. But yeah, we really need to look at ourselves. I think if you look at the government, they've said we are now borrowing more, just about the same levels, if not more, than we did after the war in the 1945. So, and then we decided to build, and then we decided to manufacture. So that may be the manual to have a look at.
But we've got a situation now. I mean, there will be concerns, and it will be used as a political football if HS2 runs late.
Oh, God.
And if it runs late, it'll be down to material shortages and that kind of thing. Well, we should have predicted that. We should have put something in place for that. In addition to that, you've got a situation where if all of the materials goes to HS2, other bits of the market will be left wanting, which means that material suppliers will be in a position to hold them to ransom and charge them additional money, which will drive up the costs elsewhere and will cause inflation and all that kind of stuff. We could have predicted all of this. And my sense of this, and I don't think HS2 is guilty of this because, as I say, we have seen it coming. But there's an awful lot that goes on that people like to keep to themselves. You know, this is my secret, and I don't want to share. If we were more open about the true workload and the true timescales of everything, material suppliers would actually have better intelligence upon which to base their production, wouldn't they?
Oh, you're speaking my language there, Mark. I've got a great team of researchers, as I say, at Builders Conference, and we're very lucky that we've got a number of good communications with a lot of construction companies, and we also are linked with the likes of Considerate Constructors Scheme and things like that. So, yeah, companies are very poor, and I'm going to, say that, at kind of keeping their information to themselves. And when we phone them up sometimes and say that they've actually registered the job with the Considerate Constructors Scheme, so it's actually a physical project, or you can actually go and sit outside the project, but we just want to confirm certain bits and pieces for our research, we get told we can't tell you that. I really don't understand that when it's an inanimate object out there. It probably was. This is from historical that people don't like giving information away or whatever. But if we are not going to have these huge issues regarding materials, and it will come to the fact that I'm sure that site operatives are going to be quite valuable in their asset, shall we say, in the future, because there's going to be less and less, especially with Brexit as well. We don't know what the true impact of that is at the present moment in time. So we have got to be a little bit more transparent. That's why we put on our BC Live table. It's live. It's there. You can see it. It's not monthly. It's not fixed. It's there. It's live, and to try and help the industry give it a better analysis of what really is going on.
It seems so incredibly short-sighted, that idea of keeping information out of the public domain. As you say, right, let's use HS2 as an example. If HS2 had been done on a secret squirrel basis, a need to know basis, we would now be launching without enough staff to do it. We'd have no materials. But a major project like that has said, here's, years in advance, here is everything we are going to need. So colleges, get ready. Material suppliers, get ready. This is coming. Which to my mind makes perfect sense. And yet you've got smaller projects who are, oh no, this is top secret. We can't tell you what it's all about. Oh, and we need some staff, and we need some materials, and we need them tomorrow. That's lunacy, isn't it?
It is, because the number of the smaller projects as a mass is huge. If you're talking sort of like this month, we're over sort of like, I don't know, 500 projects this month. And there's only, shall we say, out of those 500 projects, there is what, I don't know, if you say 50, if you say 100 of significant value, there's still 400 odd projects there that add up to a huge amount of money, and that's every single month. And we just, for instance, currently I'm having some repointing done on my house, and the bricklayers here can't get cement, because we're talking 1 minute I'm talking about major construction businesses that are suffering with their material supply, but consider the actual domestic market. We've been all cooped up and we're not going away on holiday, so a lot of people have got a lot of capital that they wish to spend, and the best place to spend it, because it's got value, is on your house or on your gardens or on internally. So there's going to be also a home improvement market that's going to increase as well. So you're having you could have a double whammy here, and and they've taken 2 days to source some cement for obviously the mortar on my house, and that's going to the likes of, even going down to the likes of B&Q and places like that. Those are empty in some areas.
It just seems absolutely crazy, and it goes back to the big job that you mentioned earlier, down in Wales. Wales is suddenly going to be. Wales has been bumping along the bottom for the past year or so, obviously due to COVID and everything else. And all of a sudden, they're going to be hit with, we need lots of materials. Where the hell are we going to get them from?
Yeah, exactly. And if the governments are going to provide even more infrastructure, and I don't know, I'm not up to speed with the Cardiff Bay water element, the power project that's going to come there, or Swansea, that's only going to put even more pressure onto those areas and the materials across the UK.
Yeah, and as our friend at Demolition Jobs has just said there, that's what it will do. It will drive up prices. So,
Yeah.
This top secret, we can't tell you anything about anything approach is actually going to cost the industry money, isn't it?
Absolutely. And you know as well as I do, at the present moment in time, the house market is booming. And if house builders can pay a little bit more for bricks, because there is a buyer for their house which will pay another £1,000 because they want to move to more of a rural location, etc., then the house builders will pay that extra little bit of money on the bricks, and then the people that are down the chain that have already ordered the bricks will more likely be bumped down a little bit, and you'll get delays in projects. And but you're back to the HS2 thing, that it'll be delayed because there's lack of materials. But it won't just be HS2; it'll be other significant projects as well, like hospitals, schools, colleges, and other things like that.
Yeah, and that's the one that really brings it home. I mean, hospitals in particular. If we get to the point where we need, as we have just had, we need additional hospital space, and we can't build them because we can't find materials, and we can't find materials because we've been keeping the facts and figures to ourselves. We have nobody to blame but ourselves, do we?
No, exactly right. And but we're all receiving information now totally different to what we were used to 10 years ago. And that information I can also class as videos and television and all those sort of things. So there is a divide that probably how old you are, and I'm going to be a little bit controversial there. Your expectations are different, and we must start to learn and develop a digital world. Really, it's not going to stop. You've got to embrace it. If you don't, I think you've spoken about having video cameras on site, etc. Well, that is the future. That will be the future. If you don't particularly like it at this present, well, develop it to the ways you want it to, rather than just sort of like putting up, no, I'm not going to do it. Embrace it and learn about it and see how it can help you. And that'll then improve productivity. And nobody wants to do things twice. And if you can learn, or it improves health and safety on that aspect as well, because sometimes there are accidents. Regrettably, there are accidents. But if you can learn from those accidents because you've actually got someone or it on camera, fantastic. And it's the same with the digital world as well, for actually information.
Yeah, the funny thing is, and you and I are of a certain age, although you look better on it than I do. We are of a certain age.
Thank you.
But what is slightly odd, I think, about this is the fact that on the one hand, you have got senior managers and senior executives, project directors and that kind of thing, who are demanding from their teams up to the minute real-time information. But it strikes me those are the same people that are at the same time saying, don't tell anyone anything, keep it to yourself. you can't have it both ways. You know, if you want real time, reliable, valid information, you've got to share real time, valid information as well, haven't you?
You don't have to share everything, but when it's fact and it's on the site, and I can sit in from my office or wherever I am and look outside, it's there opposite. I know what's happening. It's like going into a boxing match. The boss telling the junior or whatever, or his employee, going to the boxing match, but I'm going to take one. Can you tie one hand behind your back, because I'm not going to tell you everything, and that's going to be it, isn't it?
Yeah, seems crazy to me. We've had another question in from our friend Nigel Williams. Current positivity, can it last? And will the further reopening of the economy boost the sector even further? I'd like to think it will, if we can get the materials, I guess, is the answer.
Absolutely. I've also, while I've got the screen up here, we've just entered in April over 900 new projects, which weren't there in March. And in March, we entered in 1,000 new projects. Those 900 projects are about £10 billion. Now, some of them are contract awards. Some of them are in between the bid has gone in and award, and some of them the bid has still got to go in. But that's another 900 projects that we've already entered into in April. So I'm definitely half full with my cup of wine, beer, or whatever it's going to be. And over the year so far, we've added, since January the 1st, 3,800 new construction projects worth approximately £48 billion.
So, bearing in mind, I know we spoke about a figure of 83 billion from March the 23rd when the lockdown began to March the 23rd this year. We're already ahead of that number on a rolling year basis, aren't we?
I think this year we're going to be knocking on the door of 90 billion, if I was to predict.
Wow.
Something. Yep.
Wow.
Because I see that there's going to be pressure put on the government to put these hospitals on, not just on the drawing board, but on the tender side of things, and actually getting them off the ground. And then you've got all the associated works with that. And I can also see the likes of, as I say, the Lower Thames crossing, the Stonehenge tunnel, and other further significant projects. And we haven't even spoken about HS2A. You know, that's not even in my commentary at the moment.
No, absolutely. Well, you'd have to think, you know, if Mr. Johnson wanted to detract from talk about who paid for his curtains, spending lots of money on hospitals would be a pretty damn good way of doing it, wouldn't it?
Absolutely. And we all know how politics works. That's exactly how it is. It's you try and divert the conversation, and that's the best way of doing it.
Yeah, as Peter's rightly said there, I mean, 90 billion is a massive number. I mean, that's so far beyond anything we've seen before, isn't it?
It is, yeah. There was a study done a few years ago that for every pound invested in construction, £1.64 went back to the economy. There's your economics. So that's what Boris and the government are going to do, isn't it? They are going to, because the economy has taken such a hit, it needs to get money back into it. And the best way you can do that is build yourself out of it.
Yeah, well, it's not just build back better, it's build, as you say, build yourself out of it. I mean, I can't do the maths because, frankly, that's not what I do. But if you're spending, if you've got 90 billion going into construction, that's what, 160, 170 billion going into the UK economy. That's not to be sniffed at at all.
No, exactly. And, you know, travel and that industry is taking a hit. So, and I don't know what it's going to be like in the next 6 months or whatever. But then, you know, I'm talking about some of the hotels in England and the UK need a little bit tired, aren't they? You and I have both seen them down our neck of the woods, down at Eastbourne and places like that. So to attract new visitors and attract new people, they're going to have to be done up. Back once again, it's building.
Absolutely. Neil, it's been a pleasure as always. And I came into this conversation looking at the figures having dipped below 6 billion, expecting to go away feeling slightly less positive. If anything, I feel a lot more positive as a result of speaking to you. If we can just overcome the materials issue.
Totally. I'm always known as my friends group is sort of like a little bit pessimistic. I'm not pessimistic.
And there you have it. As I say, I went into that conversation kind of expecting things to be slightly downbeat, as apparently it's not downbeat at all. In fact, we've got lots of things to look forward to. Yeah, Peter, I will certainly have a drink for you, although, as you know as well as I do, it will probably be a Diet Coke because it's a bit of a lightweight, basically. No, it won't be shots because teetotal. Somebody has to keep a clear head to do this sort of nonsense. Clear head, my eye. Right, okay. I'm gonna go and get ready. I've got to actually get dressed properly for once, which will be quite nice. So I'm going to love you and leave you. I will be back this afternoon on Instagram Live. It's probably going to be slightly later than usual. I normally go at 3. It's more likely to be 4 because I've got to get back from the pub. Hey, tough old life. But that's me just about done. One thing I will give you a very quick heads up on. You've already seen something a little spooky from our friend Nick Drew today. Stick around for next week. In fact, the whole of next week for something equally mysterious. I will tell you more on Monday. In the meantime, if you're watching in the UK, have a great long weekend, guys. You've all deserved it. If you're watching overseas, I'll see you on Monday because bank holidays don't apply when you work from home. And I will see you all very, very soon. And just one final word I will say to the team at the Construction Collective. So Peter Haddock, Nick Drew, Lucas Haddock, my son Fred. Last night was a blast. Thanks, guys. Thanks for having me along for the ride. And I will see you very, very soon. Have a great weekend, everyone.